Question 7.1. We are given three equations. In each, the first substance reacts with water to form hydronium ions and an anion, which is a negatively charged ion. Each equation has this general form. We are also given Ka values for each. Ka is the ionization or acid dissociation constant. This constant is similar to an equilibrium constant and is derived in the same way. The value shows the ratio of the concentration of the products in the numerator, that is the concentration of hydronium ions and anions, to the concentration of the reactant in the denominator. Water is not included as its concentration is essentially constant. Each of the starting substances are weak acids, and we can deduce this since we are given Ka values. Ka values are for weak acids dissociating. A weak acid dissociates only partially into ions when dissolved in water. The equilibrium arrows tell us that the dissociation is partial and not complete. For the first question, we need to identify which of these two acids encircled in orange is stronger, and we must explain. Now we know that the magnitude of Ka indicates how strong a weak acid is. In other words, the degree to which it dissociates into ions. A large Ka value, like the one in the first equation, indicates a strong or stronger acid. In other words, there is more dissociation and a higher concentration of product ions compared to a small Ka value, like the one in the third equation. A small Ka value indicates a weaker acid. In other words, there is less dissociation and a lower concentration of product ions. So the stronger acid of the two encircled in orange is H2PO4-. We know it is a stronger acid because it has a larger Ka value than the HPO4-2- ion. Next, we must identify the conjugate base of the H2PO4- ion, and we must write down its formula. In Bronsted-Lowry theory, an acid is a hydrogen ion donor and a base is a hydrogen ion acceptor. An acid differs from its conjugate base by a hydrogen ion. So to answer this question, we need to find the equation where the H2PO4- ion is acting as an acid, and this is in equation 2. In this equation, it donates a hydrogen ion to water and acts as an acid, and the anion which forms, the HPO4-2- ion, is the conjugate base because it differs by one hydrogen ion. Next, we need to identify the ampholyte in the three reactions. An ampholyte is a substance which can donate a hydrogen ion and act as an acid, or accept a hydrogen ion and act as a base. We have already seen that in the second equation, H2PO4- loses or donates a hydrogen ion to water and acts as an acid. And in the first equation, specifically the reverse reaction of the first equation, shows that it can accept a hydrogen ion from the hydronium ion to reform phosphoric acid, thereby acting as a base. Likewise, in the third equation, HPO4-2- can donate a hydrogen ion to water and act as an acid, while in the second equation, specifically the reverse reaction of the second equation, it can accept a hydrogen ion from the hydronium ion, and so it acts like a base, and it reforms the H2PO4- ion. So either answer is acceptable. Both H2PO4- and HPO4-2- are ampholytes. Next, we are told that sodium hydrogen phosphate is added to water and it dissolves. This would be the chemical reaction occurring. Sodium ions and HPO4-2- ions would form. And we are asked if the solution which results is acidic or basic. And we must explain with an equation. Now we have already seen that HPO4-2- is an ampholyte and it can act as an acid or a base. In the third equation, we saw that it can act as an acid as it donates a hydrogen ion to water and forms hydronium ions. But notice that the Ka value for this equation is extremely small, and so although this reaction does happen in water, it hardly happens. HpO42- does not readily lose a hydrogen ion. It does not readily or easily act as an acid. Instead, since it is an ampholyte, it is much more likely to act as a base when it reacts with water and gain hydrogen ions from the water. Water will act as the acid, and hydroxide ions form, making the solution basic.